Hi, this is Adreena Winters, and you are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success podcast.
This is Tanya Tate. Skinfluencer Success. You are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success. How do you find what ignites you when creating content? My guest's adult entertainment journey began after her modeling photos attracted attention and landed several photo shoots for men's magazines. She's one of the top erotic content creators in the UK with an exceptional talent for producing niche scenes. This British award-nominated performer is now looking to expand her brand into the US. Welcome, Adreena Winters, to the Skinfluencer Success podcast.
Hello.
Hi, Adreena. Thank you. It's so nice to meet you on here. Fellow Brit.
Yes.
Yay. So, Adreena, introduce yourself. Tell everybody, who is Adreena Winters and how did you get started in the adult industry?
Hi, so I'm Adreena Winters. I am, a British MILF, I started in the industry around about 10 years ago. I shot for most of the British studios at the time, so sort of like Kilogram, Fake Taxi, Pure Triple X. And then I kind of moved across into content creation. And then I guess sort of 3-4 years ago, when OnlyFans really took off, I really then kind of, like most performers did, kind of really focused on my own content. And that's just been going really well. So yeah, very happy.
I love that. It's like, I've got to ask you, before you got started, were you doing a degree? Were you?
No.
What were you doing? I'm like, she's like a MILF. She's like, that was such a long time ago. Tell me, what were you doing before?
So I was a manager at Pizza Hut in my late teens. I started working at Pizza Hut when I was at college.
Yeah.
I was working at Pizza Hut full time whilst I was doing 4 A levels. Started off as a waitress, then in the kitchen, and then became a shift manager. As you said, I did a photo shoot and kind of started getting other interests. So I'd do some shifts and stuff at Pizza Hut, and then I'd go off and do some sort of crazy fetish photo shoot one day, and it was kind of cool because all the staff were kind of interested, and they'd be like, "Oh, show me your pictures from what you've been up to this week." And
so were the staff there then on your journey? Did you have a friend there, or you were the manager at the time? So when you go,
manager, yeah. But even the store manager would be like, "Oh yeah, let's have a look at what you've been up to." I was really lucky. Everyone was really supportive rather than judgmental. Yeah, it was good.
That's great, because you always think, for me, I've been in the industry for so long, and I always think if I was to start getting back into the industry now and I was to tell my colleagues, I think, well, what would they think? I'd always think that it'd be negative. For me now, if people ask me, what do you do? I say, I run a PR company.
To be honest, it depends on the situation. Even now, I'm sort of I hesitate, and I'm like, do I lie or do I tell them the truth? And more often than not now, I do tell the truth, because they're either someone I'm never going to see again and I don't really care about their opinion anyway, or if they are someone that I'm likely to get to know and they're going to judge me for it, then I probably don't want them in my life anyway. So that's kind of just been my outlook on it.
And you were very open with the colleagues. Were you open with your family as well?
Not as much. I guess it's very British to just, not kind of discuss those sorts of things. So weirdly, the first photo shoot I did was actually with my younger sister. It was just one of those makeover photo shoot things.
Yeah.
So I was quite open about kind of just the general modeling I was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mum, my parents moved abroad in my late teens, so I wasn't that close and I didn't see them that much. But they did come to visit me one day, and my mum was like, "Where's all this extra money coming from?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I was modeling, and now I'm just doing slightly more adult modeling than I was before." And that was it. That's all we've ever said about it. That's just been it.
And she was like, "Okay."
Yeah, she kind of, that was it. My dad at one point was just like, you seem really happy, you're making good money, like as long as you're safe, like good on you. So yeah.
Do you know those same words that you said, as long as you're safe? My mum said those same words to me as well.
Yeah.
I think that's great that we have supportive families, people that don't want to judge us, because at the end of the day, this is just another job.
Yeah.
And it's, we may get to show more of our bodies than people do in most jobs. It's a choice, and it's something that we've chosen to do, and we're doing something that we also feel safe when we're doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
I love this, that I found out that you've got a degree in nutrition and food science.
Yes.
So does this mean that you eat really healthy?
It means I know how to eat really healthy.
I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if she eats really healthy. But you've got the knowledge there, and I know that you're passionate about sustainable food and farming.
Yeah.
So tell me, I was very intrigued with that. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, so on my degree, it was food science and nutrition, and there was lots of modules, and there was one about sort of bioethics, and there was a lot about sustainable food and farming. I guess it's kind of a bit of a buzz topic at the moment with climate change and all that kind of thing. Yeah, the more I kind of learned about our current farming methods and how they're really damaging the planet and our health, and that it's not particularly great for the animals either. I actually went vegan at the time. I was vegan for 3 years whilst I was at uni. So I was just like, wow, the way we produce meat is just not okay. Now I'm not vegan anymore, but I tend to try and stick to like organic meat where I can and all that kind of stuff. I did actually work for an NGO when I graduated that advised the government on sustainable farming techniques and campaigned a lot to try and get greater awareness kind of amongst the general public, which was pretty cool. I guess to give it some context, I had already done, I think, maybe 3 years in porn at the time. And I was like, oh, it's probably time to get a proper job now. And I'd just got my boob job and I was recovering. So I spent a lot of time sort of online and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I found this degree in sustainable, like in nutrition and food science. I said, right, I want to do that. So yeah, I went. So I was 25, so I was a mature student, and I went off and did my degree. And then I tried to do a proper job, and then I was like, nah, I don't enjoy this. I want to go back to porn again.
That's interesting to go from doing it for 3 years, being in the adult industry, and then thinking, you know what, I'll just take a little sidestep and try something else. I think it's something about being in front of a camera, and that do you feel like this? It's, you get in front of the camera and you just feel amazing, you feel powerful, you feel glamorous, and it's like a flow, isn't it? It's like the posing and the movement, and
I guess like you just can like amp up like a persona that I think you naturally have anyway, but you can just sort of amplify that, and it's just nice to be able to go and do that part of your personality, and yeah, it's fun.
I just have visions of you, like it's like the sustainable farm, and I mean British, very British, putting on your Wellington boots and getting outside in the fields, and then it's like, okay, I'm not made for this, and then it's like, oh, but this would make something really hot now for my OnlyFans. Tell me you've done that.
I haven't actually. I haven't done any welly stuff. Maybe I should. It's a very British thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's very British
video. You have a lot of British fans, so I reckon it would work.
I always think about going back to the UK, and it's like things that I miss, living over here in Los Angeles, things that I miss. It's like being in the rain and being able to like go out and do like a really, really Britishy kind of outback. Oh, okay. So you've got your knowledge. I don't know, you don't do the vegan eating right now, but I have to say, the last year I started changing my diet completely. So I eat vegan, mainly organic wherever possible. I actually have to say, I think it's been a major improvement in my health. It's very anti-inflammatory. And when you said about the meats they mainly organic meats. In America, they pump tons of chemicals in everything. It's just like so much.
Yeah, we're kind of fortunate in the UK, but yeah, America is a whole nother. And you get genetically modified stuff which is banned in the UK. So
yeah. I'm looking non-GMO. I have chronic Lyme disease, so I always try and eat anti-inflammatory because it really helps to keep the inflammation down. Anyway, I'll be asking you afterwards because they're like, get on with it. We don't need to hear about that bit anymore. We're here for the OnlyFans content. Okay, so let's get back. So you decided you didn't want to work for the government anymore. Me, the visions of you with the wellies on going out in the fields, like, no, I'm not made for this government advice and on sustainable farming. So that's when you went back into the industry. And at that point, was that the time, were you going back into making scenes for the production companies, or is that when you started making the scenes for yourself?
So even when I was at uni, I still dabbled very occasionally. Like I think I did like a fake taxi scene, which was a bit crazy because like every time, like I never ever got anyone come up to me at uni being like, I know who you are. But like I think it was during like the summer holidays and stuff, I'd maybe go and do the odd scene for a production company. And every like term I'd come back and like walk into a lecture theatre and I'm like, is everyone in here going to know like who I am now? And the entire 3 years I was there, no one said anything to me. But then once I'd graduated and left, I did get a few people sliding my DMs on Instagram and sort of being like, oh, I was in your lectures.
You know, you're successful with many of the clips on the premium social media platforms. So tell me about which ones do you use, and, you know, how did you kind of choose to get started on them?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess what I was saying was that I'd kind of still kept a foot in the door with the production company whilst I was at uni, and then I did a scene for Evil Angel with Angel Long once we graduated. So we did a couple of studio things, but yeah, I mostly just focused on the clip stores. So I was on Clips for Sale, I think, originally, and I kind of kept that open like my entire, like right from the beginning. And then, I mean, I kind of done them all really. Yeah, Clips for Sale, ManyVids, and then yeah, I guess just the whole fan subscription concept just blew up like 3 years ago. So did OnlyFans, and then I've tried a few others, but they just don't seem to. I do Loyal Fans.
How do you find Loyal Fans?
I love it as a platform, but I just can't seem to get the fans to engage with it the same as they do with OnlyFans. So,
you know, I'm on OnlyFans and I didn't try Loyal Fans. You know, at one point, OnlyFans made that big announcement where they were we're not gonna have adults, entertainment kind of media anymore on our platform. So everyone was scrambling to look for other places to go to, and there was Loyal Fans was one of them, and there was a lot of other platforms that kind of exploded. And, you know, for me, I was like, okay, I'm still making money on OnlyFans, and I use Sex Panther. And I was like, I don't know if I want to move. So I thought I'll sit back and I'll watch and I'll wait and I'll see about what other people do, you know. And I think, you know, when you say you joined Loyal Fans and trying to get the fans to move over, I think it, you know, the name Loyal, they are very loyal to certain platforms. Certain fans, they only like certain experiences because they're used to it. So that's interesting that your fans didn't want to convert to go over to Loyal Fans.
And I'm just about to start trying sheer.com because there seems to be a lot of hype around that one. It's owned by X Videos, so it seems like quite an interesting one.
Which one was that, Adreena? Sorry, I didn't.
Sheer.com.
Sheer.com. Oh, okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk within the industry about it, so I'm optimistic that it might be a good one. I'm just reluctant to keep all my eggs in the OnlyFans basket, so I like to have a plan B somewhere just in case.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. It's like, you know, OnlyFans could be taken away from us at any time, and you know what you're doing is trying to like think, well, if I have this platform and this platform as like a backup so that the fans know that I'm there, so that if something does happen on OnlyFans, well, the fans will know, okay, let's go and find her on the other platform that we know that she's already on.
Or anything, like it's already kind of established. Yeah, so that's the plan anyway.
So there's a new platform, sheer.com. That's the one that you're talking about. So
Yeah.
for you, you're going to go on it, you're going to start it. Do you have a plan, like how long you're going to give it, or how do you judge whether it's worth your time and effort? Once it's kind of up and running, how will you decide, like, hey, this is working, or this is too much effort for the
Yeah.
return and the investment?
I went to XBiz Europa a couple months ago now, I think it was, and Dan Lill was there, who's Porno Dan. He's a American that's come over to Europe, which doesn't usually happen. It's usually people wanting to go the other way. But yeah, and he's someone I really respect in the industry, and like he's done well for himself. Like, yeah, I very much appreciate any kind of advice he has. And he said his measure is that if a platform is making him less than $1,000 a month, I guess after a certain trial period, then he stops posting on that platform. And I was like, oh, I really like that concept actually. So
that's a brilliant tip. Thank you, Dan Leal. It was Immoral Productions. I think that's still possibly the name. Yeah, it's still the name of his company. So that's a great tip. So okay, so you get on a platform, you start using it. And if it's not making you $1,000 a month, okay, we're done.
Yeah, how long you give it or whatever, and how But yeah, I think that's kind of a good benchmark to kind of gauge things by.
Yeah. And this is really for established performers. So, people that are listening and be like, oh, wow, I'm going to make 1,000 in a month. There's a lot more to just going on a platform and starting from scratch. For me and for you, we've got our fans, we've got an established platform, we've got an established presence online. So for us to put time and effort into a new platform, it's going to take a little bit of time to get up and running. But once it's up and running, if we're not getting that return, then it's pointless, really, isn't it, to keep going?
Yeah, because they are quite time consuming. So
yeah. And with it being time consuming, how do you get to balance, because you said you're on Clips for Sale, you're on ManyVids, you're on OnlyFans. Are they the main ones that you're using?
Yes, yeah.
So,
ManyVids and OnlyFans are the two ones. Yeah.
So how do you get that balance? How do you find the balance for scheduling?
I guess during COVID was like a bit of a trial and error kind of thing, and I had lots of disposable time because you were just sort of sat at home with not a lot to do than drink wine and go on video Zoom calls with your family or whatever. So yeah, I had a lot of time to kind of test things out and trial things and stuff, because previously I was kind of focusing on the sort of general porn studio format of like 20 to 30-minute scenes, and that was basically what I was creating and putting in clip stores. And then OnlyFans came along, and I was like, well, I'm not going to post like these long videos in a $7 subscription for like them to just access them all. Like, what am I going to film instead? So there was a lot of that. So my filming increased because I was sort of filming more short clips for OnlyFans, which then also could go on the clip stores as well. So that was good. And then obviously you've got all the DMs and stuff to respond to, which is just constant. And during lockdown, that was all fine. Like I was like, yeah, I'll film this day, and it was all fine. And then we came out of lockdown, and I was like, oh, I have a life again now. So I did end up hiring an assistant. So I now have an assistant. So he does all my uploads for me. I film all my content, I edit it, and then send it to him. And he uploads all my clips to all my stores and schedules all my pay-per-views and all that kind of stuff. So that has been a massive help, and I love him very much.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great plan. If there's only so much that you can do yourself, it's keeping that personal interaction with the fans, but then looking at some of the other things that you don't need to do, like the back end, like the uploading. It's finding the scheduling to do that.
Yeah, you outsource that.
Yeah, outsource that. I want to move on to your actual scenes that you do, because you found an exceptional talent for producing niche scenes. So I want to know, how did you discover which fetishes would sell to your fans? And how did producing different fetishes open up doors to potentially new fans?
My main niche, I guess, is that I predominantly only film interracial. So that came about like as a personal preference, like I have my Queen of Spades tattoo that I got in Vegas.
I was going to ask you, tell me about the tattoo. I want to hear about this tattoo.
So yeah, I've only been in relationships with actually really Jamaican guys. My last 2 long-term relationships have been with Jamaicans. Yeah, I think I've written a blog about it. I'm terrible at remembering dates, so I did look up the exact dates, and I've written a blog about it, but I can't remember. I've got to say it was 2016 or something like that I got the tattoo. So yeah, just because it is my kind of personal preference, and yeah, so and I just find my scenes are better when I'm working with guys that I genuinely find attractive, and I guess that also coincided with filming my own clips more, because then I had more say on who I was filming with, rather than shooting for the studios that don't really care particularly. So yeah, so that's where I kind of started, was kind of focusing on the interracial stuff. And then over the lockdown, it sort of just gave me time to kind of really start getting to know my fans and what else they were kind of into. And then I realized there were kind of like these other kind of niches that kind of just come off from that original niche. So yeah, you kind of have like the small penis humiliation. So my fans kind of like watching me with bigger guys than they are, and they kind of like the humiliation and of that, and how inferior they are, and how they couldn't satisfy me, and all that kind of stuff. And then I was getting a lot of requests for sort of pegging again, because my fans are the kinds of guys that are like, oh, well, I couldn't satisfy you, so maybe you can use me in other ways. And yeah, it's just kind of all these niches that all just sit quite nicely kind of underneath the interracial stuff. And I really love it, and like it's really fun kind of chatting to the guys and kind of understanding like where they're coming from. And yeah.
So this is coming from a personal preference, I have to say, you work with certain guys and you have chemistry,
Yeah.
and it's like when you've got that chemistry, your scenes are so much stronger. It really is. And going from, you're right, when you do shoot for a studio, they're like, oh, well, this is the person you're shooting with today. And even though you might be thinking, oh, I don't know, might not fancy the attitude, or you just might not find them as attractive as the other person, but you always try and pull it out the bag, you always try and make it good. But when the chemistry is there, the second you see them, and it's like, you're like, oh yeah, this today is going to be a good day.
Yeah, 100%. Which is quite interesting, because recently Brazzers approached me to do a scene, and I really had to think hard about it, because it was with Danny, and Danny's a great guy. Like I've met him at different things and stuff.
So
like
Danny D is like the Brazzers contract guy.
Yeah, who's now in the UK filming. And I was like, I haven't done a scene with a white guy for like 5 years or something like that. Like it's so much amount of time. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to like undermine everything I've done to go and shoot for this studio, but I kind of think it's kind of worth going and shooting for Brazzers. And they had done a storyline around cuckolding specifically for me, and I was like, I think it's kind of just too good an opportunity to pass up. But yeah, I did get quite a lot of backlash on Twitter for doing it.
So that's what I was going to ask you, because here's the thing: fans know Adreena Winters. This is what Adreena Winters does. And you do IR, you do cuckolding, and you do the things that are all surrounding large versus small. And then suddenly it's like, okay, now you're going to be shooting for Brazzers, which is like a major production company that if you shoot for Brazzers, it's now you are online. It's a massive promotional boost. So your name's suddenly going to be pushed out there, for you're going to potentially get a whole load more fans. But then you've got those loyal fans that are like, no, we only like seeing Adreena in these type of scenes. So is that what we're talking about? Was it the loyal fans that only want to see certain types of scenes, and they reacted because that wasn't what they wanted to see?
It's always a difficult subject to talk about with the interracial stuff, it's quite a difficult topic already. There was just a lot of comments of like, oh, I thought Adreena was black only, and like doing this one scene that wasn't with a black guy just somehow sort of seemed to undermine my dedication and my genuine interest in that. But yeah, there was just a lot of people that were just like, that's just undermined everything. And then there was a lot of other people that were like, oh, well, she's obviously just pretending that she's black only and she's only interested in like she's obviously only just doing that for the money. And I was just like, oh, I can't believe this one scene's just undermined everything to some people. It's yeah.
But they really just forget that, we are humans, and if we choose to do a scene with a certain type of guy or do a certain type of scene, then that's okay, because that's what we've chosen. If you didn't want to do that scene, you wouldn't have done it.
No.
But you wanted to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I always feel, we do get backlash on social media. I mean, even in our DMs and OnlyFans, we get backlash for myriads of different things. For me, they didn't like, I have my boobs redone. Some of them just hated on them. And, for me, when I had to change my diet because of chronic Lyme disease, I had to change the way that I was eating to try and help my body have less inflammation in. It was difficult at first trying to find the right diet, and I didn't want to eat the wrong food, so probably wasn't eating enough of the foods that I should have been eating. And so I lost some weight, and like people were like, they can be really mean, and it's like, hold on a minute, are you my manager? Are you the person that's telling me how I should live my life and what I should do and what I should look like or act like? And some of them are very self-entitled. They feel very self-entitled to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. So how did you deal with it?
I'm very lucky. I have two very close friends that work in the industry, Ava Austin and Estella Bathory, who I adore both of them. We have a group chat between the three of us, and it's really good because whenever any of us have like got something we're dealing with, we can just vent about it in our group chat, and we can all just be like, oh yeah, they're so ridiculous, and like that helped a lot because I think previously my instinct would be to respond to that person and defend myself, but you just know that that's just gonna snowball things and draw more attention to it. And so I've learned, like, there's been moments where I've started typing and I'm like, no, just delete it, go and vent to your friends, and just leave them to just argue on your post.
I totally agree with you. I've done that sometimes when like someone's gone to write something and I start typing it and I've gone, this is what I used to do. I'd type it and then I'd be like, hold on, let me just send this message. I'll screenshot it and then I'll send this message to someone else. And then I'll write, this is what I'm going to write. And I did that in the past. And then they'd just be like, yeah, don't bother. Delete it. Just don't bother. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I'll just delete it. And so it got to the point where now I'm just like, oh, here's another one. And I literally I get the black button and I just go black. And I'm just like, get off my timeline.
Yeah, it's so nice now that you can just delete negative posts and you can just block people that are just bringing negativity to your feed. And it's just like, okay, bye-bye, gone.
Yeah. I think, our fans should support us. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. You can go somewhere else.
You don't need to share my account.
Yeah. But I love that you've got, the girls in the industry that are really there, really supporting you, and vice versa for you to support them, because, sometimes this is difficult, and, people, if you could talk to a civilian friend, if you like, that doesn't understand the industry, it's kind of difficult to say to someone, well, I'm on social media and this person said this to me today, and just for them to understand that
they have nothing to relate to, whereas I know that Ava and Estella will have both experienced the same things themselves. So
yeah, that's great. So we've talked about some of the the fans comments, and Are there any other challenges that you've had in your career? And, I'm interested in how you've overcome them.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle of one at the moment. I decided to buy a new house, and I got a very good offer on my old apartment on the condition that I broke the chain. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm used to traveling, like it's fine. I'm sure it'll only be a few weeks, like it's okay. So I sold my house, moved out, put everything in storage, and then the house I was buying then took an extra 6 months to complete. So I've basically been homeless for 6 months.
Wow.
When it's just been really difficult, like not just having like your wardrobe to just go and get something to shoot in, or having like your lights to film with, or just like everything's in storage. So eventually I have moved in last month, but now I need to renovate the whole house. So I've literally got tradesmen in like every day, like everything's been replastered. It's currently been prepared for painting, so it should be painted next week. So I'm hoping in another week or two I'll have furniture in and I'll be like settled and I can film some amazing content again. But yeah, I've just had 6 months of like just everything just being up in the air and in limbo. My assistant's been amazing because he's managed to kind of, because I've had like no good Wi-Fi, so I've known that like he can keep my uploads consistent for me like over the whole time. And I know that everything's going to be great once I'm in there, so it's definitely worth the the chaos right now. But yeah, it's definitely been a tricky 6 months. But yeah, I think I've held it together. I don't think anyone online.
Don't think anyone noticed.
What's this girl doing? Where is she?
But that's a good thing though about, isn't it? Is if working for yourself.
Yeah.
Is, you can take breaks, you can take time off. It's must be really difficult to try and shoot the content. If you're staying in a place that you're not used to, you'd like, even just for me setting up for this, I've got the lights, I've got the mic, I'm in a different place than I normally sit. Just this sitting here takes time. So, and I have everything because I'm in my house right now. But it's, to not have something, it's like, I think I'll put this type of clothes on. Oh no, I can't put it on because it's packed away, or it's just difficult, and it just makes you need to take more steps to get to the end, same end result.
Yeah, to be fair, I've been so lucky that I've like there's quite a few sort of brands around the sort of interracial thing that send me stuff quite frequently. So I've been quite lucky that I just like something will just come in the post. I'm like, okay, great, I can wear that for content today.
You're like, thank you, thank you, universe. You're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I could just need that, and then it turns up.
Yeah, and I have an Amazon wish list as well, and I'm like, I just had a new dress arrive today from someone being like, I hope you look hot in this for another man, because like my fans are really cute like that.
Fabulous. Thank you to Adreena's fan who sent her that dress. It's amazing. We're in a very privileged position, I say, to be able to, we both have Amazon wish lists, to be able to receive the gifts, and, we're very appreciative of them.
Yeah.
I want to know, did you, before you ever got into the adult industry, did you have any goals of where you saw yourself or where you wanted to be, or did you have any dreams or aspirations?
Yeah, so I come from like a really working class background. Like I grew up with like bailiffs knocking on the door and stuff when I was a kid, and that kind of stuff. Like my parents just no financial security whatsoever. I guess my goals to a lot of people probably don't seem that aspirational, but I used to, like, I've never really kept a diary, but occasionally I used to kind of journal very sporadically, and I found one recently, and I was looking back through it. Must have been when I was at like secondary school maybe, and I'd written how I dreamed of like going on a long haul flight to America, and like that just seemed completely out of reach to me, that like how would I ever be able to afford to fly to America. And now I'm like in such a privileged position where if I wanted to go to America tomorrow, I could just go. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. No, it is. It's like when we're younger, it's like those little small dreams become bigger dreams, and then they become reality.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my childhood. They just did a story on me the other day in the Daily Star,
Yeah.
and it was, oh, you know, she grew up on milk tokens and free school meals, which is, that was so true. You know, when your family don't have a lot of money. And
Yeah.
for me, I always thought I didn't want to be in that position. You know, if I was to have a child, I didn't want to have a child when I was really young, when I was financially insecure.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got a child, but it was the right time in my life to wait,
Yeah.
wait until I'm older. And it's good to have dreams and aspirations. So do you dream now? Do you have goals? Do you have aspirations of where you want to be in the future or what you're working towards?
So I have just bought a house, which again I did like. It's in Bristol. Like it's a city. Well, again in my I think it must have been, maybe it wasn't secondary school. Maybe it was more like college. That I never thought I'd be able to afford to live in a city. Like I always thought I'd have to live in like a dingy town somewhere. So yeah, the fact I've just bought a decent sized house in Bristol, like that's a big goal kind of ticked off. I kind of have a Pinterest board of like things that like I would like for future me. So the last two things on that board aren't that big a deal, but again, it's not as significant as having a child, but I've always wanted to have a dog, but I travel a lot and it'd be very irresponsible of me to get one. But that's still something I'm kind of working towards. And I have a house and a garden big enough for one, but I think maybe another year or two I will get my dog. And then the other one is I've always wanted a Dodge Charger, and they're releasing an electric version in 2 years' time, which I'm so excited for. So
In the UK.
I don't know if it's going to be in the UK, but if it's not in the UK, I'm coming to America to buy one and I'm shipping it over.
Oh my goodness. Dodge Chargers, I always say they're boy racing cars.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always like boy racing. It's like I always vision the go faster stripes on the side.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a practical car at all. I have to have like a practical car. My car at the moment is very practical. And then this one, yeah. But yeah, they're releasing an electric one. I'm like, okay, I feel like I can justify it now. So
Oh well, yeah. I've drove a Dodge Charger. It wasn't my favorite. It's too long at the front.
yeah. I hired a Mustang when I came out to the States a while back. I drove from LA to Vegas between the XBiz and the AVNs. And it was quite nice to drive, but yeah, it takes a little while to get used to all the extra bonnet.
Space at the front.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Adreena, what life lessons have you learned, or what have you strengthened since becoming a part of the industry?
I think you definitely get a thicker skin. I think you kind of learn whose opinions you value and whose you don't. Just take everything with a pinch of salt, I guess. I don't know if that's something that happens with age or whether it happens specifically just constantly having people express their opinion on your life.
You get all comments, good, bad, ugly. It's all thrown at us, and you've got to be like, okay. It is true though. You do have to grow a really thick skin, and
Yeah.
it can be quite unstabilizing. You know, if you're not a very grounded person, it can be quite difficult to sit there and read those comments day in, day out.
Yeah.
It does take a certain kind of person, I'd say.
I love that on like TikTok and Instagram now you can like block certain words, so you just don't even see the messages. It's great. I'm like, oh, I don't even need to deal with any of those sorts of words anymore.
I didn't know that they did it on TikTok, because I'm on TikTok, but I've not been on it
Pretty
so
sure
long.
TikTok. Again, I kind of
it hides the comments, doesn't it? It hides the comments, and you have to review. So I guess that's where they kind of push it to the side, so you can look at it and decide if that's, you know, if you're going to allow it or you're going to delete it.
Yeah.
So when you shoot in your scenes and your clips, what is it, you know, when you're shooting them, what is it that, you know, you find ignites you? What is it that keeps you like really excited in the scene?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, so before I go on set or I hit record, depending on if I'm filming with someone or I'm just talking to a camera, I'm usually quite nervous and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. But then as soon as I'm in front of the camera, like it just, I don't know, it just sort of flows. Like it just, it's like, so I don't really think about much when I'm actually filming. It just sort of happens and I don't tire or kind of anything. It's just, I don't know, it just happens and it's great. But then afterwards, it's kind of seeing the feedback and the comments and that kind of stuff. And okay, cool, they really loved that. That's good. More of that. Or, oh no, that wasn't received quite how I expected it to be. So maybe dial back on that a little bit.
So it's like shooting the scenes. So deciding what kind of scenes that you're going to be shooting.
Yeah.
And it's I think you do something like what I do. It's like a little seed, isn't it, at the beginning? So you start with the little seed of an idea, and then sometimes, like when you turn the camera on and you start off, because this is the story, this is this is the opening to it, and then it kind of grows once the camera turns on, and it flows, because it's not scripted. When you shoot a piece off, it's not scripted unless a fan is going, here's a custom and here's a script and I want you to say it, and you're like, okay, I'm very stilted.
If I won't straight at all, then I'm going to complain.
But it's going forward and letting your creativity just take over, and knowing your fans and knowing what they're going to like and knowing what your brand is, and to keep yourself there, or maybe you want to push your limits, or maybe you want to keep it within a certain place, and then afterwards that finished product and put it online, and then seeing the fans' reaction, as in what comments are they making, how many of them are unlocking, how many unlocks have you got, what price point can you put it on. So it's that overall product, isn't it? And then analyzing it at the end. So the next time that you're going to make the scene, well, now you can decide, are you going to make more of those scenes, or you're going to change it up slightly and do something else.
And what I also find really great is, like you say, you have your little seed and you kind of film a video based around that seed, and then you put that video out there, and then that might like inspire like a conversation that a fan wants to have with you. And then the language they're using to discuss that with you, you're like, oh yeah, that's a great term. Like I need like mental notes to use that like next time. Like, yeah, it's good. It's kind of just like evolves. It's good.
I sometimes do that, exactly what you've just done, because I'm on Sex Panther. So Sex Panther, people can text.
Yeah, we don't have it in the UK.
No, you don't have it. I'd love it to come to the UK, because I'd be like, British girls, let me tell you how amazing that Sex Panther is. I'd be like, so I mean, they can text me and it'll come to my phone, so interactive, it's easy because you haven't got to log in. You've not got to go into OnlyFans. I've got OnlyFans on there. I've got OnlyFans on the computer. I always have the browsers open. But for the interaction, they come through, don't they? And the text comes through or the message comes through. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I like that, what you've wrote. And I'll save it. And then suddenly a mass message will come either on Sex Panther or OnlyFans, because you can send messages on both. And it will be, I will have been inspired by what that fan of that particular day and time wrote to me. So we kind of duplicated. And possibly that fan will get it in a few days' time, and it will ignite that passion inside him. And he'll be like, oh, yes. And he won't realize that he inspired that line in the first place.
Giving away our secrets.
Winner. I love this, because the fans can listen to us, and also other content creators can listen to us. And I love sharing the stories, and I love talking about the different things that we do, but I do share a few little tips as well. I think it's great. People might be listening, might be inspired to start an OnlyFans, many vids, clips for sale. And this is the type of podcast that they're going to come and listen to. And I hope that we've given them a whole load of things to think about today.
Yeah.
So Adreena, I want to ask you, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
To have said no more often, I think.
Is that in taking on too much, or doing things that you probably wouldn't have wanted to have done?
Yeah, I think I could have been a bit more selective on the types of scenes that I started doing. I was kind of just like, yes, yes, yes to everybody that kind of wanted to shoot me. And I think in hindsight, it probably wouldn't have hurt to have been a bit more selective.
But you know what? You tried them. And I always find, life's a journey. And sometimes like if we didn't take the scenes, if we hadn't said, oh yeah, go on, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Now you know that maybe that was not something that you would like to do again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I did a scene with Rocco Siffredi and it involved something that I never did. And I really want to try again. ATM, they need to look that up.
Yeah.
They like Google what's ATM.
Yeah.
And it's not to do with a bank machine.
No.
I tried that and it wasn't a very hygienic, clean experience.
Oh, no.
And I was like, first and
no.
last. I was like, when you've got two colors, like, no,
No.
this is not something for me.
No. I draw that as well.
Yeah. So sometimes we try things, but you know what? Now you know now the things you like, the things that you want to do. You're so more assertive, and it's like this is a yes, and this is no. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
and that's great.
Yes.
And I guess that would be if you was to give a piece of advice to someone who's wanting to be a successful content creator.
Yeah.
That would probably be know when to say no.
Yeah, especially I think it's difficult. I don't know if you saw it in the UK. We had a TV show, Filthy Rich or something like that. It was like a OnlyFans kind of documentary. It had the presenter create an OnlyFans account, and then kind of the sums of money she was being offered to do things that she didn't really want to do, and then she was kind of questioning like, where are my limits? And yeah, so I guess if someone's new, just kind of try to think about what your limits are and like just be quite clear on them, and don't let anyone kind of push that if you don't want to move on that.
Yeah, that's really important. It's not just the production companies that will ask you to do certain things, like what you just said, that example. It will be the fans.
Yeah.
The fans will push and push and push,
Yeah.
and they will, certain fans, not all fans, need to correct myself, certain fans, certain people will push and push and push, and they will try and up the limits to try and get you to do something. And sometimes they might not be offering any money. They'll just be like, we want you to do this. And it's very pressurized. It can be very pressurized, and you have to like really hold your ground and be like, do I really want to do that? And if I do, am I going to ask for a more expensive price point? Am I going to resell it at a more expensive price point? Is it going to be a custom where I'm going to charge an absolute premium for this? So you are right. You do have to make those choices, and you do have to say yes or no. And if it's no, and the fan keeps pressurizing you, it's like, walk away.
I'm just like, there's plenty of other people that will do that. Like, just because I don't want to doesn't mean that someone else doesn't want to, and maybe just go and find someone that's already offering that.
Perfect. But sometimes it's the forbidden fruit, what you don't do, they want you to do. But it's like with me, they wanted me to go back and do boy-girl scenes. And I knew that's what they wanted, but I wasn't ready. So when I was ready, I went and did my first boy-girl scene back after, I don't even know, 9 years, like almost 10 years, with Kieran Lee, another fellow Brit. And I shot the scene with him, and it's there, and people, they can buy it, they can view it, they can watch it. But I kid you not, I did that scene and the guys were asking for more. And they're like, well, did you actually watch the last one? And you can scroll back and you can see, did they watch it or did they not watch it? Did they watch it? No. They didn't watch it. So hold on, you didn't watch my first boy-girl scene, but now you want me to do more. Well, if you want me to do more, then you have to show your appreciation by watching what I present to you. Then you can have, if I know that you're a fan that's willing to spend the money, that's willing to show your appreciation, you know what? I'm going to show my appreciation back and give you more of the things that I want to do that you're asking for.
Yeah.
There you go. Fans, if you are listening, take notes.
Yeah.
Take notes. Oh my goodness. This has been so lovely, Adreena, having you on.
Thank you. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much. And tell everyone that's listening now, where can they find you online?
Twitter, I am at Adreena_Winters. We're kind of very unfiltered there, so that's probably the best place, best social media to find me. On Instagram, I'm Adreena.Winters, but it's not. I post on my story quite a bit, so if you want some kind of more like day-to-day stuff, it's probably best to go there. And then my OnlyFans is Adreena Cacoldress. And then I have a free OnlyFans, which is Adreena Winters, all one word. But also in all my social media, I have a link that links to everything. So just click on that, and then all of my pages are on there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adreena Winters, for taking the time to come on the Skinfluencer Success podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is Tanya Tate. Skinfluencer Success.